What's going on YouTube? Real McCoy here. How y'all doing today? First off, I want to apologize for the video coming out late. It's just been a crazy week, several installs outside of town, so uh, hopefully next week everything should be back in the rhythm. But from the title of this video, y'all already know what it's about, the story of my PB, 11 pounder. So yeah, let's just get into it.
Yes!
All right, everybody. So, this was back 2013, and I guess to go a couple more years back, you know, everybody had Zebco 33. I mean, that's probably still one of the most popular reels out there, to be honest, and super user friendly. And back then we always had the ugly sticks or the old Shakespeare rods. I don't even know if they make the Shakespeare rods anymore, but that's what we had. And you know, I would always, I threw Texas rigs and all these, Rapalas or Rapalas, however you pronounce them, and didn't ever really have any technique to them. I just threw them out and reeled them back in, and I had decent luck, But one of my favorite lures, to this day, top 10 actually, is the old Mepps Minnow. Super, super good little bait. This is in a shad color, but awesome little bait. I've caught 5-pounders off of this, I swear. Like I said, still top 10 bait to this day. The new bait casters, they won't throw them. They're just too light. But your BFS gear that has come to market, has been around for probably 20 years. But the last couple years, it's finally blew up and gotten where normal people could afford it. Super, rarely cheap anyway. And but anyway, so your old Zebco 33. Well, I'd always been seeing, the bait casters and spinning reels, and none of my family, that I was with used them. And but I always knew I wanted to get into it. I knew they were better reels than what I was using, So we ended up buying some property that had an old house on it, and just going through exploring, and found an old Quantum cranking reel. I can't tell you how old it is, and I doubt they make them anymore. But just a really old bait casting type reel. And back then I thought it was the coolest thing ever. Now looking back at it, I'm surprised I got one fish on it. No telling how old it is. The actual reel handle has tons of slack in it. I mean, but I thought I was the luckiest kid ever. It's got the push button on the side instead of actual on the spool like your bait caster these days. But so I went home and I put some line on it, some 10-pound mono probably, and put it on a reel, or a rod rather, and went out and started practicing every day after school and got fairly good at it. Still didn't have any super nice gear, and but we were okay with that. So like I said, I'd have Texas rigs or whatever on this, and I'd always throw the Mepps Minnow on the Zebco. So fast forward to August 20th of 2013, and we had some friends that we had become friends with. We're like, hey, y'all need to come out, to this lake on Wells Gate, this subdivision my dad's got a place, and go fishing with us, me and my dad. So he's like, look, we ain't gonna catch a lot of fish, but the fish we do catch are gonna be 5+. Well, okay, cool, sweet. I'd never caught anything that big, So we go out there, and of course he shows up, and he's got top of the line gear, all big full bags of baits. I mean, all precisely labeled on the boxes, and all Corrado reels on Corrado rods. Really, really nice, taking care of his stuff. Real rod sleeves, reel sleeves. He had the whole 9 yards. He had everything. So I'm sitting there mesmerized, And sure enough, we get out in this old boat, and him and Dad start hooking into fish. 5, 6, 7-pounders. I hadn't got a bite, and I mean hours. Hadn't got a bite, and I'm discouraged, pissed off, I guess you could say. I'm wearing it on my shoulders, a little bit butthurt about it, and they're still reeling in fish, And I wish I could find the video of that day of fishing. I had some really fun videos of Dad reeling in fish, But so feeling discouraged, but it is what it is. So we always called it the Wells Gate curse. But end up leaving, go out to eat, and Dad takes us to Walmart. He's like, "Look, if you buy the rods, I'll buy the reels, or vice versa, whoever bought which." And so that's what we did. So we end up going with the Daiwa Jupiter, which they don't make anymore, and the Shimano Canaan, which they have a new model out. They don't. It's not this model anymore. But 6'6" medium. Still back then everybody was just reaching up for the rods and seeing how they flexed. But this is a super awesome setup. Still is. I love this. I actually don't use it anymore. I just keep it hung up. Dad, he uses his, and he's got Zodius with metaniums and a couple of Aldebarans, however you say it. But still, back then, this was an awesome setup. And still, like I said, I mean, it's just smooth as day. Yeah, just an awesome little setup. So, talking with our friend Todd, who took us out fishing, he's like, "Man, you need to start using fluorocarbon." And back then, I didn't know much about braid or fluoro or mono. I just didn't know. So we pick up some fluorocarbon and pick up a couple of extra baits. And I actually end up getting this. This is a Rapala, Shad X or Rap X. I can't really remember. But it's a suspending jerk bait, so it doesn't float and it doesn't sink. It just stays a little bit underneath the water in a perch color. Back then I was just going for whatever looked the coolest in my opinion, not knowing, fishing specific colors and specific lakes and ponds and fisheries and stuff like that. But so this is what I picked up, and that's what I tied on. So, from there I'd kind of gotten rid of the old Zebco and moved on to just my crank and reel and this rod over here. So Monday rolls around. So this would have been the 23rd. And we had a couple jobs to do in Oakland where our lake house is. We got some family that owns the lake house. And we're like, well, we'll take our fishing gear, and fish while we're there. Might as well. So we had to measure stuff on the roof to fix some repairs. And so we get there, and Dad gets up on the roof. And at this time, we have our former business partner was with us. And so we all walk, and me and him, we walk out to the dock. It's a big dock that goes out probably, 30, 45 yards, and then cuts to the right and takes you on out towards the middle. And, super nice dock. I mean, it's got, your fillet tables. I mean, it's got everything. It's got a cabin on the side, you can stay in. So really nice dock. And so Dad's up on the roof, and I go down there with my new setup. And the first cast, I bomb it out there. I'm super ecstatic about my new bait casting reel. And, I get it halfway back. Still at this point, didn't know how to fish a jerk bait. I didn't know the rod twitches. I probably did jerk and everything like that, but nothing crazy. And, she hits it. I mean, blows up on it. She comes up out of the water. I mean, I'm freaking out. I'm frozen, Dad's got a bird's eye view from the roof. He's freaking out because, we can all tell that this fish is, at least a double digit. And so I'm fighting this fish back, and Dad is yelling at Brad. He's like, "Find a net, get a net." And I'm yelling at him to get a net, and I kid you not, true story, he is walking over and around nets that are all over this dock, and he's like, I don't know where the nets are. I can't find them. And they are everywhere. I mean, he is stumbling over nets. I mean, it's crazy, but true story. So I finally get down on my stomach, and I can barely reach her, and I get her, and I pull her out of the water, and I'm just, I'm going crazy. And Dad gets off the roof, and we get two scales down, and 11.3 and 11.2 is what she weighed. So I stuck with 11.2. Is what I felt comfortable with. So awesome day, awesome story, but it did end kind of sad. This is a skin mount. Her gills got pretty tore up with this jerk bait here, and she just couldn't recover. I tried, setting her loose several times, but she just kept floating up to the surface and turning over on her side. So this is a skin mount, unfortunately. Back then they had replica mounts that were pretty decent, and now the replica mounts are awesome, and they tend to be a little bit cheaper. So I highly suggest, if you can, always set your big ones loose. It is it is in the genes. It ain't, bass can go their whole life without getting over 6 pounds. It's just, it's all in their genes, kind of like deer. So to keep your fisheries good and healthy, I suggest you always turn back your big double digit, all your big fish like that, and you don't want to fillet them when they're this big anyway. But still an awesome day, awesome story. You know, she fought her last fight. So, uh, and I could go my whole life without catching a fish as big as her, and I'll be okay with that. But yeah, it was a great time, great story to tell over the years, and I'm glad I could share it with y'all. So, yeah, I appreciate y'all watching. Y'all like, subscribe, and y'all stay real.